Torbjörn Appehl from Sweden, from company Power and from Common Europe. Torbjörn, thank you for coming, and it's yours.
Aha. Thank you, my very good friend. Hello, my name is Torbjörn. This is how it's supposed to be spelled. I will touch on my name later. First of all, thank you very, very much for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here to do a keynote at, well, this is the largest conference at least that I do a keynote for. I'm very happy for this. And some people in the audience did see this presentation in Alicante, so there might be repetition, but that's okay. You will laugh at the same picture, I hope. Also a little bit more, is the grass green or not? Do everybody hear me, by the way? Yes? Yes. Okay, good, good, good. Is the grass greener on the other side? And this is a little bit of the background of this presentation. So, I'm writing a lot. I'm very active on social media. I write a lot of blog posts and so on, articles and so on. And recently I've been writing about how tired I am of this misunderstood platform. So I use this both for mainframe and IBMI, AS400. So I know we have some mainframe guys in the room, do we? A few. Okay, a few, okay. But we love you guys. I mean, IBM is better, of course, but it's the same things happen to the platform, the mainframe platform. And this is for me, that I put it together the other day, a rocket, right? And this is not what people think about the rocket. This is what people think about the rocket today. SpaceX doing really, really advanced stuff going into space, but still a rocket, still going from Earth to space. Same thing with the mainframe. It's not the old mainframe. It's not this old AS400. We talk about IBM technology, which is of course based a lot from the AS400 and even before that System 38. But that's, I'm very, very tired of this. About me, so as Piotr said, I'm from Sweden. I live just in the suburb of Stockholm with my family. And I've been working with the AS400 and IBM platform since '97. I started my career working for IBM for 11 years, and since 2008 in different positions. Today I have my own company, so I have one-person company. I started it to work for IBM again as a contractor, so I didn't want to become an IBMer again. They asked me, and I used this presentation as a reason why I should not be an IBMer. It's better to have me on the outside, like a loose cannon. Anyhow, this is what I do. So I work with IBM around ISVs. So in Europe, we're reaching out to independent software vendors again. And I will start with saying, because I will be pretty hard on some vendors, but I know things are not easy like that. It's not like black and white, and I will explain it later. I'm also an IBM champion, just like Piotr. Anyone else? You're a champion?
Not yet.
Not yet. You will become a champion. Anyhow, I'm a champion since 2016, and also since this summer I'm the vice president of Common Europe. And I've been very, very engaged in the Swedish user group. I was leading for board member for 10 years. I was leading for 7 years. And took it from a very sleepy organization to a very, very strong organization. Today I'm mostly famous for this actually. I produce a daily newsletter, and I will touch on that at the end, why you should subscribe to it, but it's pretty popular. I have around 650 subscribers from 56 different countries. Okay, soon I will stop talking about myself, but I have to explain my name because it's a very, very, okay, Norway, Scandinavia I would say. So I'm from Sweden, so it's very popular in Sweden, and also you can see it in Norway. A little bit different spelling, but anyhow, it's pretty cool name. So it's Tor, which is Thor, you know, the god with the thunder god, and then Björn. And some people in the room maybe might remember Björn Borg, or even Abba Björn. So that's a combination of two pretty cool. Not the teddy bear though, it's a Christian, yeah? Okay, so as I said, the idea in the background, you've already heard about it. I was so tired of seeing companies leaving a platform. They thought they left an old-fashioned platform. They actually used it as an old, but they didn't grow with it. They didn't let it mature. So I put together this, and I will start with some warnings from the real world and some even disasters from the real world and what you should avoid and what you can do instead of doing this. And I mean, I think I put it together 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm updating it regularly because we still see a lot of disasters going on in the world. And this company is one of the reasons why I am upset and why I'm frustrated, because Gartner they're still like the gods. Whatever they say, people go for whatever they say, the message they have. Most of the time, for us, both mainframe and IBM guys, it's been frustrating because they said modern systems is Linux or Windows, especially Windows in Sweden and the Scandinavians, right? And then we have Deloitte and SAP, and of course they follow this because one of the reasons what happens when they moving away from our great platform is that we generate a lot of work for consultants. So consultant firms loves it. They say yes, yes, yes. Listen to Gartner say this, buy that, and we will be occupied for years. You should leave the platform, and then you have the magic quadrant crap. But the same company a few years back, there was a shift. So they said you should go for some standard application. It was also a big thing. Now they said, well, in the future, 75% of application will be built, not buy. So they saw 5-6 years ago a trend in building applications again. Homegrown application, we used to call them, right? Differentiated, innovative, and not standard software. That was the thing. You should do something unique. You should do something that you're unique, and this gives you competitive awareness. Well, you get more competitive, right? Okay, here we go. This is always like that in IT, right? Trends goes back and forth. This is a pretty busy picture, but this is coming to the build thing. So you build stuff yourself today. Now the hottest trend since a few years is the cloud native thing. To build things for cloud from the beginning, right? Which we'll touch on soon as well with microservices and that kind of application architectures. But this is a screenshot, but this is a dynamic website. And all the different small boxes are different companies, different technologies, and so on. Cloud native storage, cloud container, different container runtimes, you have API gateways, Kubernetes service providers. And this is dynamic, and there's a reason, because these change constantly, right? And of course, it's natural. It's a new technology, and everybody, both they want to be part of it, they copy someone else, or they just innovation. But I'm very happy that I'm not an application architect that should find the languages, the database types, and build an application for today that I will maintain in 5 years or 10 years. We need to have the skills, we need to have the database have to be around, is the company around, or the acquisitions and all that things also a reason why it's dynamic. It moves around all the time. So now people start warning, I think even Gartner is warning about cloud, because it gets very, very complicated and very complex fast. And again, it's not black and white. I know for some kind of applications it's good. It's very good technology, right? It's not the rest of the world is stupid and I'm the only one who knows the best. But it's, again, me frustrated because people think they cannot do new modern things on IBM platform. So this is a great picture. Kubernetes is the platform or orchestrator of containers, and that grows. You remember the virtualization engine era in the late 90s and early 2000, right? Instead of physical servers, they started with virtual machines, and they were just popping up thousands of servers. Same thing is happening now, but with containers. Now they said, no one wants to manage Kubernetes anymore. Again, sometimes it's good, but not always. So I just want to make sure people get both sides of the story. And also overspend. This is a very, very expensive to go to the cloud. And again, sometimes cloud, I have another presentation with East Cloud, right? Because that's also a big difference. Cloud native, this is more about the cloud native stuff. And then of course we have the old, more or less outsourcing to cloud. But anyhow, cloud is great, but not always for all kinds of applications. And this is a warning. This is from our friend in Juanma in Spain. They are a pretty infinite company that Amazon bought. And they're telling their story is, oh, you can, with this infinite tool, you can just take your IBM application or AS1 application, as they say it, and put it in the cloud. It just works and it's brilliant. It is rubbish and it doesn't work. And again, we have different stories, a bit different backgrounds. Depends on where you are, of course. I mean, if you have a modern application from an ISV, and the ISV itself has developed and do modern things, and standard application can be brilliant, can be very, very good, right? And if you have an old application and you don't have the source code, or if the old package application, you have the source code, or you have completely homegrown application. There are different paths and there are different ifs and buts, yes, but you do things different. And as soon as you buy the standard application, and they don't want you to all the bigger vendors at least, they don't want you to make your own modifications. You don't need that because we have everything in the standard application. Because as soon as you do that on the big package, you get complex when it's time to upgrade and all that stuff, right? So, but you want to do things. You do things, hopefully, better or at least different than the competitor. So think about that. And also, this is, well, what people say, replacing an ERP, because this is the kind of application I mostly talk about. Replacing an ERP is like changing an engine at the jumbo jet while flying. Which normally is the truth, right? You have the 24/7 production, and it's very difficult to find time to do things. Very risky thing. And also the time to market. So this is also another reason why package application, the standard application, is not always the best thing, right? Because now everything is, you talk about DevOps, agility, you have to be very fast to reach out with new functions and new features and so on. And again, if you have your own source code and you own everything you decide yourself, you can make as many changes as you, well, dare to do maybe. But if you have this standard big application, you're a small company, you want to change into their production, well, that could take months. Or maybe they say just, no, we don't give you that. So again, low TTR. Okay, so this is when the salespeople comes in. And again, this can be also different. So if you're a large company, you have 50 or hundreds of different ERPs, you want to search for this, right? The holy grail that solves all problems, one big product. SAP was one of them, or still one of them. And they do good things again, but it doesn't suit all, right? But this is the project what the salespeople see, and this is what happens often. A big good picture why I should not be an IBM, right? An IBM cannot use this. And my son said, what are you doing? Okay, anyhow, it often fails. And this is, now we will go down the memory lane about failures. And this is nothing, most stories are just that I Googled. And I have some others as well. So this is the big project that will solve all your problems, the holy grail, and what happens after the couple of months or sometimes even years. It's very easy to Google them, especially in Europe. I don't know, because the Americans, when they saw the numbers, they said, are they those public numbers? Yeah, they're all numbers we publish them. How much they fail, and that's a lot. So just this was what I actually started with. So 7 topics, and the consultant firms, they are happy to write blog posts about it because they want to tell the world that they are very good at this. If you go with me, we will avoid, well, those 7, yeah, but there's 28,000 others. Small text perhaps in the background, but I guess we can share the presentation, Piotr, later. It's big, but it's good. We should share. And the numbers, the company's board of directors, this is since, well, last year in IT Jungle, the big news that we read in IBMI were, the company wrote up of 111 million pounds in asset related to the trouble modernization initiative for Trevor Paris. AstraZeneca, this is a Swedish UK company that a couple of years ago was again going to replace a number of systems with this big standard application. And my very good friend works there. We had a dinner on Saturday, and I was listening into this during the project 10 years ago, and she said, "Oh, we're going to buy this SAP standard, blah blah. It's very good," they said. The problem is we have to change all our business processes, how we manufacture medications. Okay, and that's not an easy thing to do. Then they have a lot of technical difficulties, right? So they couldn't produce any medication because the SAP said they didn't have any packages for this. And the next time they couldn't order any packages because the system said they had already full, but they weren't. They didn't have any. So, and this took years to overcome. And it actually affected the Swedish GMP. Is that the bruttonationalprodukt in Swedish? When you calculate the Swedish economy, right? It was actually affecting that. It was that bad. And it was $60 million US in the first quarter. You can see this is so, and I can continue. SAP DHL, this is many years ago. I should probably remove it soon, but it was a really, really bad blame game in media. And no one wants to listen to this. I don't want to read it because this is failures in so many ways. There was probably someone in the beginning that said this will fail. They had a better plan, a better idea. It was probably right. Lidl, Middle Course, 16 famous ERP disasters. So this is another, just listing the most infamous ones. A few more stories. This was quite cute. So this is a Swedish company manufacturing lights and stuff like that. They had this old AS400 or I-series back then that was supposed to modernize. Modern back then was Dynamics, I think, Microsoft Dynamics. So they bought Microsoft Dynamics, implemented it, again changing the engine while flying. What happened was they didn't get the performance out of it. So they had to, every lunchtime, they had to stop production for I think 2 hours or 1 to 2 hours to restart the server farm. That was how we solved it, okay? The problem was that Microsoft had a solution for it. The solution would be more expensive than implementing Dynamics to begin with. So they went with the third product, and Jeeves, it's another Swedish ERP. I think they're pretty happy today, but again, they took some time to get into there. But the interesting part was when they bought the German competitor and went, because they could see in the numbers that their IT cost was like 20% of their new cost that they had. So they flew down to Germany, and what do you think was running? Of course, an IBMI was doing the same thing where the cost was like 80% less. I don't know if it's cute is the right word, but it's this is definitely not cute. This company is not around anymore. It was a printing company, and it was back when printing was going into digital, so there were probably other factors as well. But what they tried to do was invest in a huge project with SAP to solve all their problems. And they are not around anymore. B4 Netherlands, blah blah blah, Swedish bank, I think this is the final one, had a very good bank application, not modern UI though. So they wanted something modern. It was 50-50, right? So they want something modern, they went with Tata Bank or something. The thing was they had two systems, which was just for failover. So it was one machine that ran the whole bank application. I think they have over 100, 120 servers per site today. Still does not perform as good as that one. And again, we set it aside and we were not involved. We couldn't reach to them and said, well, you should maybe look into modern UI instead. So this is another Gartner number, but this is 56% of the users said the new software had made them wish management would bring the old system back. It's a lot of unhappy people. 60% of them are frustrated. This is even going back to the old. It's not that they want something new that works better. It's go back to the old way of doing things. And there's a reason for this. Well, there are many reasons, of course, and I try to highlight a few things, but often when you have this sales process, there's a lot of hidden figures and hidden things that is not in the RFP or whatever documents. So unhappy stuff, right? So how do you calculate on that? Skills about the old system. So we have this old system that you maybe had for 20, 30 years. People knows very well how it works, what to do, what to avoid, and to get your things done. That skills is gone. You don't need that anymore. So how do you put a number of that? Important, impossible, right? But also, you pay a lot of money if you go to this package solution at least. You pay a lot of things for functions you don't want, right? So they often say, oh, we give you new functionality every month, or even every week, because we are very agile. We send out updates all the time. And you have to apply. You cannot avoid them. You need to apply them to have this process in place. Yeah, but I don't want that, because I don't change my business process that much, right? I'm not this app that change a lot, right? We produce thin lines of something. It's a pretty stable process, but we have to pay for it, and you have to implement it, and maybe you have to use it, or at least educate and so on. You pointed me when because I had a lot of slides left. Okay, again, what to do instead? Because this is the most important, most expensive thing. That is doing nothing, right? So we talk about the technical debt, and this is what happens so many times. And unfortunately, this is one of the reasons. Someone decide, we have to go to something modern. It have to be Windows, it have to be UI, and nowadays we have to go cloud native. That day, or even before that, people stopped paying any attention to the IBM server, right? It runs often for many years, but you don't do anything to it. And then one day, you have to do something. Then it's nearly impossible. So sometimes, again, it can be even better to, okay, go ahead, just buy something new. Change all your business processes, just try to stay alive. It's also, should I stay or should I go? So expect the return on investment comparison. This is application. Case one is application development, and if you have the package solution or just modernizing. So you have something that you've been working on building for many, many years, modernize. The numbers is high return on investment on modernization, very low on application, buying an application. Okay, so what to prioritize? First of all, now the situation, you have your application, you want to do something, what should I do then? Torbjörn? Yeah, well, you should modernize, okay? And you should talk to users and see how well does your system or application support you today? And where is your pain? So what is it? Of course, if you have a green screen application, most likely you should do something about it, right? I love 50-50 green screen, but for system administrators, not for end user, right? There are way more advanced functions to use. And today you can just select any JavaScript tooling, so you have the same framework that you're running on maybe on other platforms, on Windows Server, the same business. Do that, run them native on IBM. Very nice native running UI on the same box as well. You don't need another virtual machines or whatever that you have to maintain and invest in and so on. Run it on IBM. This is a report that it can actually be recent. So even doing BI, offloading this data to Windows Server or Linux Server for doing BI. Well, you should do it directly on IBM. It's 100% SQL standard. You should run everything where the data is, and you get the reports right away. And open up the system, of course. This is also one of the reasons people left, because AS1 was really strange and no one knew how it worked. But today, you should open it with APIs or whatever and build microservices and web services and so on. So this is a slide from Poland, actually, Trenton. This is because if you're a large company, probably you have a number of different ERPs, and it can be very complex to make them work together and so on. But there are tools out there to integrate instead of replacing the old stuff that, again, is probably unique and works very well for that small part of the business, but let it be. It is much less riskier than buying something new. Okay, this is RPD. Now we're down to another problem. We cannot find RPD developers. Well, you cannot find an RPD 3 or RPD 4 developer, perhaps. But if you modernize to full free-form RPG, show it to developers. And I have no clue what the things on the left side is. So this is the before and after converting RPG. I have no clue what that is. This is a fixed form RPG. That is pretty easy for me to understand. So which make it easier for a Java developer, .NET developer, whatever, to understand your application and help. And of course, since the release of Merlin this year, this is an IBM message that Merlin helps in the modernization journey. There are alternatives out there. And as I said, I work with ISVs. I know a handful of really, really good alternatives when it comes to DevOps and modern application development. But you have to show them, give them the modern tooling also. Young people coming from school, they know SQL, they know VS Code, for example, as an environment for developing. Do that, give them the right tools, and you will find, you look for a developer. And teaching them the unique IBM stuff is not very difficult. Monoliths versus microservices, this is the same thing as I said, with mainframe and IBM, often the COBOL programs, right? It's not the mainframe, that's not the problem. It's not even the language, it's the way you did application back in the 80s and 90s. And you did it for good reasons back then. Monoliths, it's few but big programs, because this was very expensive back then. Not electricity like it is today. But today you do microservices that's smaller pieces of program and they work together. But you can do that on IBM. You don't have to use containers. Containers is one platform for it. But you can do it on IBM as well, which we think is the best, of course. Because we already have the subsystem, we have the way of isolating load and so on to make it stable and good application. And agile, as I said before, you have to be quick, because the business side, they are often agile. They work with the agile teams and so on, so the business application, the development side of things has to do as well. Yeah, I know it's speedy, but you will have the slides later. Yeah, and this is also the waterfall versus DevOps, so this is how you should do today. Back in the heydays, you had even the package vendors did the same thing, right? You have a new version maybe every year. Sometimes it was 2 years between new versions of an application, and that's too long, right? You have to make sure that you can add some small microservices to it, and you can be much more faster to the market. And this is also just showing that IBMI is definitely into this game. So you can use Git and GitHub technologies, for example, if that's something that your company likes. You can do that with IBMI. And that's even getting better with Merlin, by the way. So this is what it looked like back in the heydays. You had an old AS400, you have the database, you're using record level access, you have the application with green. Well, the development environment was SEU and PDM and 50-50 application development things, which can be good, for sure. If you're a maintenance guy, you just want to fix something, go that way. But normally you should not use it as often. And you have the green screen on top. Now you should have, well, the different layers still, but you should use, first of all, SQL on DB2, right? But also look for modern open source database as well. Sometimes a NoSQL database is good for some part of the application, or you have needs for it. But also, the same thing with application development, use open source languages. But again, reduce them, because we've seen companies that have the best of breed or letting developers decide, I want to go do this with Python. Okay, why? Because I want to learn Python. Yeah, okay, but that's not the reason for implementing another language or another tool. Be restrictive, but tell them that they can. People think you cannot, but you can use other languages. And as I said, the user interface should be modern, should be look very fresh. You don't see normally what platform is behind, right? It's just the UI is the same. A number of this is also actually the Rochester team is very good at open source thing, and they are implementing new things to the platform every year, which is both good and bad. And I try to tell people, respect and use the ILE as much as you can. RPG and the things that are integrated into the operating system with all the security and things that is coming with that. But be open for open source. It should not be scary. But also you have a lot of different things to do. You can do Internet of Things, of course. You can do AI. IBMI is very good at AI with the single level storage. AI loves memory, right? And now with the super fast solid state drives, you have terabytes of memory. So AI is very cool. And remember, it's not a project. Modernization is not just a project and then you finish. The second day after you finish the project, you're on modern, more or less. You're on the next journey, right? You should have continuously going on and work with this. So this is the message I want everybody to get from my presentation. Yes, I usually say you can run everything on IBMI besides Windows applications, but you want to run the Windows application. But what's happening soon, and maybe some of you know that already, not on IBMI though, but .NET is coming to Power. So .NET was announced to run on mainframe on the Linux one in November last year, and hopefully next month we will see .NET 7 to run on Linux on Power. But they can open up for some .NET code to run on the same box to avoid that stuff. So, just a few things about my newsletter. I produce it every morning. Piotr, do you read it? You get it, because it's heavy. It's I put some effort into this. But the good thing is you decide, you go to the website, buildonpower.com, and you select the topics you're interested in. If you're just interested in IBMI, you get one email every morning with just IBMI. If you're interested in Power and IIX as well, you will get one email every morning at 10 o'clock, 10:06 I think usually, with just the content that you selected. So it's very, very appreciated newsletter, and it is free. I spend an hour and a half every morning to go through between 100 and 200 articles from the internet. So I'm collecting from 400 sources, IBM related stuff. Yes, I know I am stupid. Okay, this is my final slide. So this is just a reminder, Piotr maybe mentioned already, but we are planning to go to Igor, where are you? There, Igor in Prague in June. And we're going to extend it, so it will be tracks around not just IBM and power, but even more hardware power related, and also some storage and Red Hat, Linux, and AIX stuff. So we're going to fill in the shoes of TechU a little bit like that. So hopefully we will see at least some of you come to Prague. That's my slide. I have a number of similar ones, so if you want to have, because this is, I know, this is more giving some inspiration, and sometimes you, oh crap, and people like you knows this. But I have others presentation, like one is 400 arguments for IBMI. I have more basic stuff, IBMI for beginner explain and power explain. So if you have managers or bosses or whatever at the company, reach out to me and I will send the presentation for you to use, or I can do webinars that I've done for companies in Poland. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.